So, welcome to another episode of Menable Matters with me, Steve Whitten. Last week, we were joined in the Menable movement by another fantastic ambassador. And this is a guy who used to work at the same company as me in Volkswagen, but we never actually met because he joined pretty much the time when I left. No coincidence there, I'm sure, but I'm sure he'll explain a bit more about that. So, and we are going to discuss what it means to come on board as an ambassador and the whole area of mental health in the automotive industry. So, welcome to Menable Matters, Neil Mumford. Neil, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, Steve. Thank you very much. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm good.
Good, good.
So, apart from my rambling intro there, could you do us a big favor and tell us who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do,
Yeah.
and what drew you to Menable? If you want to make that last about 20 minutes, that'd be spot on.
Okay. So yeah, my name's Neil Mumford. I've been in the automotive industry for all my working life. I guess specific, about 23 years, and that's working within the Volkswagen Group network. So I did time with Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles as a sales exec, and then went on to Audi in the network, and then 2006, I joined Volkswagen Financial Services, pretty much as you were shutting the door, I guess, at Brunswick Court, or you at Madison House, I don't know. But
Yeah, I'd moved on by then.
I joined FS as a contract hire development manager, and the role was developing products and people in the Volkswagen Group network, specifically for contract hire. Did that for just under 5 years, and then I did a stint with Audi UK as an area fleet sales manager, covering a secondment, or on a secondment, covering maternity leave, which is a great time. A passion for Audi as a whole. So I loved that role. Lady came back to work. I went back to financial services as a business development manager. Within the commercial vehicle network to start with, and that's just an amazing place. Again, people, process development, and ultimately, to assist the brands in selling cars. So my business development manager, I could say career, if you like, was commercial vehicles, Volkswagen and Skoda, and yeah, it's a great place to be. Last March, I was made redundant from financial services. I guess leaving FS, I made the decision to take some time out, which I'm glad I did, and I spent some time with my family, which was good. I guess I came back in October, November time, and went back into job hunting. And the reality is, Stephen, is there's lots of people looking for very few roles, and if they're looking for that role, it has to be absolutely specific to that role. So if you have transferable skills, that's great. And you may, so if you're looking, I don't know, at an analyst, let's just say, what we did, and you'd have done it as well at FS, you did a lot of analysis around data and people, just things that were happening with brand, lots and lots of data coming in, which you would then, put it all together and you come up with a solution. Now, if you're not an analyst, you're not going to get that role nowadays. And that's just, to put that into perspective. And I guess, that's where we are with it now.
Because you and I connected in that regard as well, didn't we? And if you
did.
don't mind me mentioning that, actually, you inspired one of my vlogs, which was all about the feedback of being told you're overqualified for jobs that you're applying for.
Yeah, and absolutely. So, I've applied for a few roles. You get to hear back from some, which is great. Then others, it's you get put through an interview only to to be told that you're over experienced. With the experience that I've had with with a manufacturer or manufacturer finance company, if it's a dealer, generally it's overqualified, over experienced, or if something comes up with another manufacturer, you'll be snapped up and you'll be gone. And it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
Um, and so and I won't be the only one going through that. So
Mm, mm.
I then reached out to you. I guess it was off the back of one of your twat in the hats vlogs. I just thought and I commented on a couple of your previous ones, right, as well. And I just felt I really need to talk to somebody.
Mm, mm.
And I looked at what you guys are doing at Menable, and I just thought, actually, they might be able to help. So you and I spoke,
Mhm.
found out that our history with
Yeah,
FS.
yeah.
So and I just thought, as it's gone, I've responded to a couple of your vlogs. I just thought, actually, I'd like to be part of this, because this is actually quite a big thing, because and we spoke about it. Us blokes don't talk. We hold our emotions in.
Mhm.
And I guess, Steve, I was lucky at FS. Um, that's very much on their agenda, is the whole mental health and well-being. And I was fortunate enough to have a line manager who was really good, and he would regularly check in with me, because I went through a couple of traumas over the last few years. And the thing is, I don't think you fully understand what happens until maybe 2 or 3 years down the line, and all of a sudden it hits you.
Mm, mm.
And I was in that space, and if it wasn't for a particular individual just checking in, on a regular basis, just saying, Neil, how are you? Yeah, I just felt I could talk to them, because I
Mm,
knew I
mm.
was being supported. And I just look at it now, in the the automotive industry is a great industry. I think if you're in a successful place, it's probably one of the best places to be, because nobody celebrates like you do in the automotive industry. And I just think that if you're in a bad spot, for want of a better term, like I was, and you don't have the support network around you, it's probably one of the most lonely and most harshest places to be in, and brutal, if I can
Mm.
use that word. And I guess I look at this now, that we spoke about this with lockdown 3 coming to an end. There's going to be businesses that rightly are going to be planning. We've got March looming. It's big month, registration month. So if I'm a dealer, the manufacturer is going to be wanting the registrations, and they're going, you want to be hitting all the standards and your objectives. And I just think that they will be focusing, a number will be focusing on that pure getting to a number,
Yeah.
rather than, okay, people are going to be coming back to work to deliver that number. Where are they?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's almost going to be, in some cases, this expectance to say, you're going to come in, you're going to come back into show, and you're just going to deliver. Where I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to come back to showroom with other things going on
Yeah.
in the background. And I guess as an owner of a business, or a line manager or a general manager, I think it's really key that you understand what's going on
Mm.
with that individual, and
I think you're
that
right. And
becomes
as you,
part of the plan.
yeah, as you say, I mean, all of these sort of anxieties and issues and concerns and worries were always there in the background anyway.
Yeah.
And, it's only when, as we've seen in the last year or so, you get a pandemic hit us, or a
Mm.
massive downturn in the market, and things start to happen, and those anxieties get worse. And if people are coming back into a workplace where, let's be honest, maybe the management aren't as skilled up as they could be in terms of how to deal with that.
Yeah.
But the pressure is still on to get that number, hit those targets. Then yeah, it is imperative that we've got this network for people to reach out to.
I absolutely agree. And it's I just fear, and again we've had this conversation, that it's going to be twofold.
Hmm.
People are just going to cave in, and it's just not going to change. or we'll lose really, really good people from the network. And that's happened. I gave you a couple of examples of friends of mine who've moved out of the automotive industry because they weren't supported. And that's the brutal side that I mentioned a moment again. When actually, I would say one of those individuals in particular, if they had been supported and maybe had the support I had, they'd probably still be in the industry. And I guess I'm lucky when I look back, that I did have the support for me. And I think also that owners of businesses is, you would hope, that it's not the fact that they don't care. In a number of cases, they actually don't know how to. They really, really want to help their people, but they just don't know how to. And I guess I look at Menable and what you guys have done to say that there's a support network there for you if you're that owner of a business. So actually, let me reach out to Stephen, and Stephen, help us. This is the situation I've got. I run 10 sites. I've got these employees. How do I get well-being on my agenda? And I think that's what I would advocate owners of businesses who are in that situation to reach out.
Well, definitely. Well, thank you. I mean, a key part of our strategy, of course, is to enlist the help and support of people like yourself as ambassadors, to actually spread the word. Because the other thing, of course, is a lot of these owners and business drivers aren't necessarily on the social media platforms where we're perhaps doing the bulk of our marketing and stuff. And it's important that we get the word out to these guys and girls and say, look, there is a support network out there. And I think we all also in the industry tend to be a bit stuck because we are a diagnostic and fix it business. So we either diagnose and fix somebody's transportation needs, and then when they have that transportation solution, when it goes wrong, we then diagnose and fix it. And I think we have a similar mentality when it comes to people. And of course, the one thing you can't do is, lift the lid off of somebody and suddenly, stick a screwdriver in and twiddle some bits and they're fixed. It's a far more complex situation than that. And so your point about whether they know how to and they've got the skills is bang on, I think.
And I think you're just the quick fix thing. I look back at my development role. I was doing the FS, and there'll be a couple of my sites, and we spoke about this as well. It's just about talking to people and knowing what's going on. So what one particular group that I looked after, absolutely, and it was from the very top, driven by their managing director, that he mandated that the sites had to review their people every Monday. So actually, it was a case of going through the numbers, what's going on, and then at the bottom was that whole well-being bit. What's happening in your life that we can help you with. And because that helps them as well. And I just feel that doesn't happen enough.
No. Well, by contrast to that, we've been running an aspiring managers program for a manufacturer, and we've got to a point where I've even had one manager in particular said that out of 20 people in their service department, they know of 9 of them that are dealing with what you would call mental health issues, and that's many and varied, of course. And somebody else who says in their business that they're actually now too scared to even ask people, how are you in the morning, for fear that they don't really know how to deal with the answer. If the answer comes back and it's not the traditional British, I'm fine, I'm okay, or it'll be all right, or anything like that, we don't know how to deal with it.
It's I think as I mentioned, where I was, it's just about talking to people, and it is it's sincerely, if I use that word, talking to people. It's not a tick box exercise. It's it's just talking.
So on that front, can I ask you a couple of things then on that, in that regard? Because it's just something that's been bothering me lately, is to think, well, one is, the talking is spot on, and it's about trying to resist the temptation to fix it for someone else. That's a key part of what we're about, is resist the fix. But on the other side, do you think there comes a point where if you're talking about it over and over and over again, that actually becomes more painful? Where's the line, in other words, is what I'm getting at. I mean, and
Yeah,
just a
and
view on
I
that, really.
guess I look at that from my own experience. It's the sincerity piece of it, because I think if you're going as a line manager, if you're going over and over and over again, and you're asking the same questions, quite clearly that's not working, and that's a coaching thing, I think, for that line manager, because the individual in question will just shut off. And they'll go, what as men do so well, they'll just put up a brick wall. So I think it's being sincere, and just talking to the individual, because a line manager isn't going to be a mental health expert.
No, absolutely not. No.
So I think it's it's that whole that manager reaching out to people, to his manager or to their manager, sorry, and again, it's conversation. Not trying to turn them into counsellors. You can never do that, because it's so specialist. However, I gave the example of regular review, and openly asking the question. As you say, it's not a fix it thing. You can't fix it overnight. It won't happen.
Yeah. And that's also got to come from your, I would say, go as far as say, if you're a line manager, that's got to come from your character. That's got to come from your values and your beliefs. It's not just, something that's on a to-do list, or, your daily schedule of things, must ring up and check well-being. It's something that comes from your heart, isn't it? It's from you, where you genuinely want to do it.
Agree. And I was fortunate enough to have that. I was also fortunate enough to be, part of an organisation where it wasn't a tick box exercise.
Yeah.
It was out there, and everybody spoke about it, and I think so I look back, and I was just unfortunate enough to have had that, but there's others that haven't. And in some cases it will be because owners of businesses, as I said, they don't know how to do it. They want to do it, but they just don't know what it looks like. And in some cases, I know you'd said it, in some cases people don't want to do it because it's on the too difficult to do list, which I just find mind-blowing. And I'm quite sad.
Well, or they get to such a point where they almost feel that they can outsource that stuff to, further, or delegate it further down the line. And of course, if they're not living and breathing that themselves, it's not going to get delegated. It's just going to be a repackaged or remodeled version of what they do.
Yeah, and I guess it could be that there's something deeper. If you were that stakeholder, owner of a business where that was the case, maybe they just maybe they're going through their own problems or situations, and they don't know what to do. They've put up this brick wall. So actually, it could be a case of, as brutal as the industry can be, is that actually if I'm going through it, I've kind of got my own crap going on. Deal with it. And I've heard it on many podcasts. Man up and crack on. Put your big boy pants on. Just get on with it. That's absolutely wrong. Those days of, I'm going to call it Jurassic Park, they're gone. And I think I guess kind of a call out to those owners of businesses is reach out, talk to somebody if it is the case that you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole support network out there that, you know,
Yeah.
are
100%.
there to help you. You know, ultimately, you don't have to own it yourself, and that's what it's all about. I think people have, and maybe just human nature, you know, people have this thought or vision that, you know, they have to own it. It's them. They've got to go out there and they've got to deliver it. And I guess, you know, with the right guidance, it can just filter down, and you know, it can, you know, you've got business owner, you've got line managers, you know, because we love a good organogram with lots and lots of managers in the automotive industry. But you know, just that's all I would do. Just I'd call out to reach out and just talk to somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I mean, and I mean, the issues are immense, and we, you know, we go through the list of them quite regularly and think, right, where do we start? And I think ultimately it is about beliefs and values. And, you know, as an organization, we only want to work with those companies that have got that kind of mindset at the beginning.
Yeah,
You know, if they're thinking for any reason that what we're talking about is a training course or an intervention, then, you know, we're clearly not communicating it clearly, or they're not getting it.
yeah.
Um,
And I guess, you know, you and I spoke about this. You know, it's not unique to the automotive industry.
oh
There are
no,
other
absolutely.
industries
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
there that, you know, they're behind where we are,
Mm-hmm.
which is really scary.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, you know, again, that's part of a bigger piece.
Which sector was that? Sorry, I missed that.
I'm talking about veterinary.
Veterinary, right? Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, and
Um,
somebody said to us similarly about the agricultural sector.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
it's scary, Stephen.
it
It's
is, it is, and out, you know, as well. And no easy way of saying this. You know, prior to the pandemic, we were building up quite a nice little bank of contacts and potential business out in the United States. And one of the things that's astounded me through all of this, because quite often people think that the US is about 10 years ahead of us. And when it comes to things like mental health, they're 15 years behind us.
wow.
They really are. They really are. And these issues and attitudes, you know, and it's still very process driven and very transactional. And we're very lucky we've got Russ Mann, who's an ambassador for us out in the States. And he and I talk regularly about, you know, this is a long, long journey, long
Yeah.
journey.
And is that because, you know, in America, is it because they don't want to know it, or is it that whole it's just too difficult to do?
Oh, I don't know, actually. I'm not sure I would. Yeah, ask me one on history.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I've not got to the bottom of it yet. I mean, I was just astounded really at how when we went over there, how they, you know, they would still high five and whoop and celebrate, you know, somebody making a sale off the back of following a very rigid formulaic process and structure that you think, we were doing that here 15 years ago,
Yeah.
you know.
I just can't believe, Stephen, that somebody would.
That's a big generalization, by the way. That's probably not everywhere, but you know.
No. But I just think, you know, nobody will go out to work wanting to ignore somebody who's crying out for help. I just can't believe that. I believe that it would be, if there is that person that really wants to help, because they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, 100%. But the thing is with Menable is that what we've been banging the drum about is, let's not just make leaders and managers ready for when that person tips over and genuinely then is at needing to help, you know, that crisis point.
Mm.
But getting them ready, prepared in their mindsets, their attitudes, their values, that, you know, we can have these conversations 2 years before that even happens.
Yeah.
You know, and let that individual know that, look, you're coming into an environment that will help and support you.
Yep.
That, you know, that's the plan, that's the strategy.
And I guess, yeah, that's what Menable is all about. It's you know, it's that person in that retailer environment, let's say, that, you know, is in, I say, is is in a place where they can openly go out and talk about it. They can go to a line manager and say, "Oh, can I talk to you about something's bugging me, or something's going on in my mind?" And it's that line manager having the confidence and understanding to say, absolutely, come in. It's that whole door open mentality. Rather than if you're in a culture that is not with well-being and mental health, that's come from the top. It's like it's just too difficult to do. Like shit flows downhill.
And I think your point, excuse me, your point is spot on about the what's going on for the individual leaders in their own minds, in their own lives. And if they've got their own anxieties, and what we're finding is there are a lot of senior people in this industry who have got there and look around themselves and go, I'm going to get found out if I'm not careful. So we have a huge issue with imposter syndrome and people being quite concerned that they're in positions of seniority that perhaps don't have the emotional intelligence that you perhaps think would come with that territory.
Good, very good in their field, and elsewhere that doesn't happen. I guess, as a call out, you look at the OEMs and what have you. Maybe they can drive that as well. We spoke about the example. If I was in my BDM role, FS still, me doing what I need to do in my retailer with a stakeholder and actually going through the numbers and chewing the fat, people development, and then we look at the bottom is like well-being. Because then it's just this whole, just brings to life that whole culture that everybody's in it, kind of this whole we're all in it together piece. And then we're driving it, and I think you'd probably get stakeholders opening up more then, because you've got somebody from a manufacturer sat with the business owners saying, okay, where does well-being sit within the business? Where are we with well-being? And I think, if you have it at an ops manager level, then they're more open to speak, I believe.
No, exactly.
More open. So maybe, the manufacturer OEMs can also play a part in this.
Well, our intention is within businesses that we will have what we're calling it affectionately Menablers, which will be people, ambassadors that work inside businesses to actually enable these conversations to happen. So just very quickly, Neil, if you could just wrap up with a few pointers as to, you've mentioned why you were attracted to becoming an ambassador, but we're on a bit of a journey to attract more if we can. I'm sure there's loads of people out there who want to get involved. What would be your top tip, if you like, for, coming on board and getting stuck in?
For much like myself, Stephen, there's lots of people in our industry that have wealth of experience that somebody can reach out to. Who, I'm an old sweat, 20 years in the industry.
I don't know what that makes me then.
But I would welcome somebody just reaching out to me on LinkedIn or Facebook, wherever it may be, just saying, Neil, this is happening. Can you help? Where do I need to go? And I believe there's quite a few people like myself that can help.
I agree.
And so the reason, that's the reason I did what I did, became an ambassador for it, because I reached out to you, I found somebody I could talk to, and all of a sudden it just came to me. It's like, wow, actually I've got something to offer here.
Well, I can vouch for you being a top bloke, Neil.
Thank you.
We're absolutely delighted to have you on board with Menable, and looking for greatness going forward. I'm sure we're gonna conquer the world with this issue.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us on Menable Matters, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
You will. Cheers. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.